Welcome to episode 23 of Celtic Sagas and Lore. I am your host, Martin Vaughan Watkin. Now, in this episode, I'd like to do one of the lesser-known totem animals in Celtic lore. A lot of us are familiar with the horse, the bull, the wolf, etc. But one of the lesser totem animals is the goose. Now, it was, as you can imagine, a fair bit of meat flying around, and it was also used by the Druids in divination. Not just as in a spiritual, metaphysical way, but in realistic ways as well. For example, if a geese was seen to arrive or fly early, it was an indication of how the weather would be. A goose flying out to sea was seen as good weather, and flying towards the hills as bad weather. It also appears in a few tales as well. One of the most popular is that of King O-Toole in Irish mythology. Now, King O-Toole was a good king, and he used to watch the geese flying over and back and forth when he's out on the hunt, and he used to admire them. So he decided to get himself a pet goose. And he sent his people out to find a goose's nest, and he took a goose and he raised it himself. And they were inseparable, more like a man and his dog more than a king and a goose. But in this tale, which is a Christianized version of what probably is a much older story, as the goose aged, it could fish less and became less mobile, as a pet dog would slowly become less agile as it got older. And the king became depressed that the goose was aging. Then one day he was down at the shore of a lake where he and his goose used to hang out a lot, and he met a young man. And the young man said, "Oh, greetings, your majesty. How are you this day?" And the king was taken aback, saying, "How do you know that I am King O-Toole?" And he said, "Oh, I have special talents. There's a fine goose you have there." King said yes, and explained about how it was getting old, and he was worried by himself and the aging goose. So the young man said to the king, "Majesty, I'll do a deal with you. If I could restore the goose to youth, would you reward me?" The king thought, "I've got nothing to lose." He said, "Yes, my boy, what would you want?" He said, "Once I've restored the goose, would you grant me the lands that it flies over on its first flight after restoration?" The king agreed to this, so the young man kneeled down, picked the goose up, made the sign of the cross, and said a prayer, and miraculously the goose was young again. He released it, and it flew up into the air and flew far into the distance, and away and then back again. And it was in the prime of youth. And true to his word, as he was a good king, he said to the young man, "Well, my word is my bond, and the land is yours," he said. And the young man then relieved himself to be Saint Gavin. And he said, "Messiah, it flew all over your kingdom. I would not take your entire kingdom, just grant me permission to spread the word of the Lord our God." So the king gave his word, and he did. And the people of that part of Ireland became Christianized according to the story. If you look deep within it, there's the other part of the story. The second part of the story gives away its more pagan origins. For example, that it is said that the king and the goose did not live long after, because one day the goose was fishing and it dug down and it was attacked by an eel and killed. Now, again, the fish, salmon particularly, and the eel are also totem animals, so therefore you can see the origins of the story from there. And after the goose was killed, the king died away of a broken heart. Now, due to the nature of some species of goose, the greylag, for example, they mate for life and are fierce parents. So they are also, and if you ever come across a goose that's neck down and charging, you know that they are very territorial and protective as well. So their main totemistic characters, that was parenthoods and protective power and that. On the island of Kilda, which is in the North Atlantic, these beliefs were still in play up until the early part of the 18th century. And these were noted by visitors to the islands during the time. And again, the goose itself, apart from its meat, its fat is also renowned for it has many uses, as in lubrication, as like in 3-in-1 oil today, and for certain remedies, goose fat on the chest for a blocked nose and similar things as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and see you in episode 24. Again, if you could subscribe to the site, to the Facebook page, I'd be very grateful. And thanks for listening. I hope to catch you in episode 24.